Welcome to Gems of Knowledge with your host David Bellman and Justin Kroll. Each week, our experts will answer all of your jewelry questions with Rachel Putney, our social media maven, who will relay your questions to our experts. And now, here's your host, David Bellman.
So, welcome back to Gems of Knowledge. We are now getting ready to start our second segment on clarity. And Justin, why don't you go ahead and take us past, I think we're at VVS 1 or 2 at that point?
Sure.
Point?
Yeah, let's, I think we left off at VVS 1, VVS 2. So,
okay.
These stones, very often get confused with like flawless. There's just nothing in them. Very difficult to see under 10 power. A VVS 1 stone comes in, for us to take a look at, appraise or buy or something like that. You just have to assume you see nothing in it. You have to assume it's like a VVS 1 or a VVS 2 because to get that flawless grade is just very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Like I said before, probably 1% of what I see on the selling end. How many VVS 1, VVS 2s do you sell a year?
Well, it's funny. When we first started in the business, that was pretty much all we sold.
Really?
Yeah, the price differential between VVS1, VS1, SI1 was just a few $100s. So you could trade people up to the higher quality, and it was reasonable. It made sense. It was like, no problem. But over time, as those clarities became more rare, and they were, I guess, harder to find because now they're much more expensive. And, people are sacrificing clarity a little bit when they're buying their diamonds in order to get into a certain price range that they want to be in.
Sure. Because now the price difference is huge.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the other things I wanted to talk about not necessarily, if you have a budget and you want to stay within a certain price point and you're looking at all the 4 C's, clarity is an important one where visually, to the naked eye, there's not going to be any difference from a VVS1 to, say, an SI1.
Right.
They're going to be completely the same. The only difference would be under 10 power or higher magnification.
Yep.
So a lot of times, unless it's a personal preference that somebody wants a VVS1 or a VVS2, if it's advice that I'm giving people, it's try to stay with the VS2 or SI1 with a better color versus and a better cut and a little bit bigger size versus going to a smaller size, lower color, less of a good cut grade, and then getting some sort of VVS1 stone because it's really not necessary in my opinion if people are on a budget.
Yeah. So what would you consider to be the most important then of the 4 C's?
Well, they're all, I don't think there is one that's more important. I think they're all important, just as important.
They all play like a huge role.
Yeah, they all play a huge role in price.
Yeah.
And appearance. If you start going down to the I1s, I2s, and I3s, those are going to severely impact the beauty of a stone. Just like color, lower color grade will impact the beauty. Cut's a big one. Poorly cut stones severely impact it, no matter what the color and clarity. And then, of course, carat weight. Size really does matter.
Well, I think I've told you this story 1,000 times, but I don't think our viewers have heard it. But, it's interesting when you talk to people in big cities, like when I have customers from New York or San Francisco or wherever call me up and they're looking for an engagement diamond.
Size.
Always starts at 2 carats. And so I've even asked a few of the people about it. I said, so what's up with that? And they said, if I show up with anything less than 2 carats, she'll say no.
Isn't that amazing?
And it's not a joke.
No.
It's not a joke because what happens is, they're in circles with their friends, and they all want to look.
It's like a little competition.
It's like that. That's life.
Yeah.
It's truly life. And some guys will say, well, I want to get her a perfect diamond and all this other stuff, like you say, the VVS stones and so forth, because they want to give quality.
Right.
But then they're stuck because then if they go to those kinds of clarities, they can't afford it. So then they have to start looking for places to sacrifice.
Sure.
I mean, you could sell a poor quality 2 carat for less than a very high quality 1 carat.
Of course. The question is, where do you draw the line?
Right.
And that's where, you start really doing your homework because there is. If you look at the pricing chart, when you get to a certain level, like SI2 to I1, right? What happens to the price?
No, way down.
Drops like 30-40%.
Right. The biggest jump is SI2 to I1, which, let's move down to the different, the clarity scale again. Let's talk about VS and SI. So, Howard, if you could bring that chart up there. Perfect. Thank you. So you got VS1 and VS2 is the next step down. These are going to be still pretty difficult. I mean, you get a good VS1, it's going to be tough to spot anything under magnification. VS2, you're going to start to have, and this is where we talk about some of the different inclusions, maybe, a crystal, small feather, a cloud, something like that, where pretty much VS1 and VVS, you're essentially going to have maybe a pinpoint or a small cloud, which is a group of little tiny pinpoints clustered together, but very, very small, hence the VV. VS, very slightly or very small inclusions. SI1 and SI2 is where it starts to get a little tricky, because in SI1, you really shouldn't see anything to the naked eye.
Right.
But you're going to have feathers, which essentially are breaks in the stone. That's the definition of a feather. Larger crystals. You can start having, larger naturals. You could even have chips as part of the clarity grade. And once you get down to SI2, some SI2s, you can actually see an inclusion with the naked eye. Shouldn't be bad. It really shouldn't affect the beauty of the stone, but there are, like on my end, on the wholesale end, as soon as I'm explaining an SI2 to a dealer with a GIA cert over the phone trying to get a quote, first thing they ask me, black under the table or not? So the inclusions start to matter, whereas I explain a VS1 or a VVS2 to a dealer to get a quote, they don't ask me, is it black under the table? Because if it was, it's so small, it wouldn't matter. But with an SI2, first thing, every single time, does it have black under the table?
Well, here's an interesting aspect that we haven't touched upon yet, and that is how diamonds are graded
There's
for clarity.
5 factors.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep. Yep. You want to name them? You guys want to name them?
Location,
Yep.
position,
Yep.
color,
Yep.
Well, is it-
Color or relief.
relief, yeah. Size.
Size of the inclusion.
No, there's 4.
So you got size.
Don't ask me. It's been so long. I couldn't tell you.
I know. I have to remember them all. So size is the inclusion. So this is what we're talking about, guys. Is the 5 factors that a diamond grader will look at as far as what the inclusions are that will ultimately help him call the clarity grade. So size. So is it a tiny little inclusion or is it huge? That's pretty easy to explain. Nature of it. Well, what is it? Is it a included crystal that has absolutely no effect on the stone's beauty or durability, or is it a feather that's a break in the stone off to the side that could be further damaged, could further damage the stone? So size, nature, position, and this is what I was just saying with the dealers asking me, where is the inclusion? Is it smack under the table right in the middle of the stone? Or is it off to the side under the different facets where the mirroring and stuff kind of hide it? Right.
Right.
And then color, which is, is it a clear crystal that really doesn't stand out against its background? Or is it a black inclusion that really stands out? So
and one other thing I was going to mention was that all diamonds are graded from the top. So when you're talking about an SI2 clarity diamond, because this will happen, you'll show someone an SI2 clarity diamond and they'll look at it from the top and they won't see the inclusion. Then you flip the stone over and it's, oh, there it is, I see it. It's an I1.
Right. So the last one was number. How many are there?
Okay.
One inclusion or 50. So going to your point, the ultimate call is graded face up. But they do look at them while figuring out what's in the stone upside down.
But the actual clarity grade, because there are diamonds that are VS1 that you can clearly see the inclusions from the bottom.
Yep.
right? But that does, so people understand that doesn't count as part of the clarity grade. The way GIA set up their grading system was that everything is graded from what's visible only from the top only, and that if you happen to flip the stone over and see it from the bottom, it doesn't impact the clarity grade.
Right. And something to add there, different cuts really affect how the clarity grade is going to present. So an SI1 in a round brilliant, probably not going to see it, right?
Yep.
How about an SI1 in an emerald cut?
Oh, where it's like glassy, wide open.
Yeah, you could have an SI1
There's
that you
nothing hiding
can
it.
see. Right. You can see it with the naked eye. So a lot of people try to put a rule that, well, if you can't see it to the naked eye, it's an SI2 or better. And if you can see it, it's an I1 or lower. That's not always the case.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of complicating factors that go into this. And ultimately, and I think people need to understand this too, is that when diamonds are graded, it's all done by subjectively. So the three of us could look at a diamond, and we've done this before, and all looked at it and come up with what we thought is the grade of the stone, and then send it off to GIA, and it doesn't necessarily come back even close to what we thought it was going to be, because we look at it and we take it from our perspective as gemologists, and then they do it from their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get down to it, at the end of the day, it's still one person's opinion. It's not a guaranteed absolute, like you can put it into a computer and reproduce it over and over again, the same color and clarity grade. It doesn't work like that. Each one's unique. So, there can always be a difference of opinion.
Yes.
I just watched a video of the process of grading a diamond at GIA.
Yeah.
I mean, they are very strict.
I would say 9 out of 10 times the clarity grade will come back the same, maybe even more. Like if gemologists use the 5 factors that we just talked about and grade it the same way, they should come up 9 out of 10 times with the same grade, within 1 at least. So it is subjective.
Well, yeah, and that 1 could be,
you could get the 1.
Well, if you're going from SI2 to I1, it could be a 30-40% difference in price of someone's opinion.
And those are borderline calls.
Yeah. So
you try, when you're buying diamonds or selling them, you try not to get those borderline calls. So, an SI2 versus an I1, you could have a good SI2, which is pretty clean, a little closer to the SI1 grade. Or you get an SI2 that's closer to an I1, and...
why don't we just call it SI3? I just made that up.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Bad news.
Okay. Well, we're over our time for this particular segment, but we can certainly come back and discuss it in segment 3. And so for this one, thank you very much. We will be back shortly to get into more details, but so far, an excellent discussion.
Hey, it's Howard. I hope you enjoyed part 2 of Diamond Clarity Grading. Are you in the market for a diamond? Or just interested in knowing how to grade diamonds yourself? Well, we've got you covered. Check out Cool School University, the only online diamond grading course designed exclusively for consumers. This video course is free and is taught by our own David Bellman. Professor Bellman teaches you the fine art of diamond grading, including valuable information that diamond salespeople never want you to know. With this knowledge, you can tell if you're getting a good deal or they're taking you to the cleaners. When you finish the course, you get a certificate acknowledging you are now a certified retail diamond buyer. Tune in next Saturday at 12:30 for part 3 of diamond grading.